startup ecosystem and we can say that the polity or commerce ministry. What does startup ecosystem believe and what is their overall way forward? We talk all that today with Alok Kejriwal, co-founder Games2Win. Thank you, Mr. Kejriwal, for joining at this moment. First of all, you belong to that community. India, well, it's undoubtedly they have done so much, but what Piyush Goyal is seeing, what most of them have done is entrepreneurship, not startup, AI, EVs, batteries, that all missing. What is your view on that?
I think, it's very nice to stand on a podium and give all these acronyms and judgments on what is entrepreneurship and startup. I think anybody and anything that creates value from scratch is holy. We're very used to many gods in India, and I think any businessman, you can call them anything, who can create wealth by sheer hard work and innovation is a god. And I think whether it's a food app, whether I would say if it's a janitor app, whether it's a app that does instant reservations, who are we to color that and to call it out as good, bad, or ugly? I mean, I'll just take a minute more. Just 40, 50 years ago, we came from being farmers and we're an agrarian society. We then move to manufacturing. We don't know how to do services so much. If there is someone doing something phenomenal and creating a food delivery app that employs 25,000 people, then that is something which is worth celebrating, no? How can we deride it? I think it's very unfair to start labeling entrepreneurship and startups with these fancy ideas and make us feel discouraged.
Mr. Kejriwal, I was present there, and I can assure you that he was not deriding. He was, yes, criticizing startup ecosystem a lot, but he has a point, maybe from the global point of view. So he would mean that from here on, how many of these startups like delivery and all these things have a global scale? On the other hand, he was pointing to China, which is investing huge money in R&D and all. So yes, there don't you think there is some comparison which can be made from between India and China, but what scale from India to global level, few of these startups can only scale up to those level, while China can take these technologies to that level.
Right. So, Sumit, I just want to point out that I created and sold a company in China almost 20 years ago. It was called Mobile to Win. It was acquired by Disney. I've been very close to that land, and it's very different. Number one, from our country, it's highly regulated, highly social, and there are lots of things you can and cannot do. So, while we look at what they have done, I just want to end that by saying that the circumstances that made them do what they've done is also needs to be purviewed. Now, when we talk about can we build stuff that can be exported, of course we're doing it. I am really surprised why Piyush doesn't know this. I mean, take an example of a government-led effort like UPI. UPI is a great product, a software, a product, a service that is very exportable and is exporting itself. If you look at brands like a Zoho, if you look at a Fresh Desk, these are companies that have gone global. In fact, I believe quite the opposite. A country like India, which is so vast and hungry, and pun intended, for the food apps, it trains you to serve lots and lots of people, trains you to scale, trains you to look at challenges. And then when we go to finer markets, it's a breeze. Large, I'm talking about why isn't German entrepreneurship heard of? Why isn't French entrepreneurship heard of? Their local markets are so small. They have to start itself in a very large market like US, and that's where they get trampled. So I think there is a disconnect between what's happening. I heard Vijay Shekhar's comment. I think we need to be abreast. It's just because someone didn't make it to the headlines of a pink paper doesn't mean that innovation is not happening. So I don't think there is any, and I honestly believe, I think this is core to entrepreneurship and startups. The minute you start competing on a philosophy, you are not going to go anywhere. We've had that curse in India for many, many years. First, we want to be like China, then we want to be like Russia. Now we want to be like the West. I think we should be ourselves, find our scale and rhythm, and that itself will spur success.
Well, yes, I get that point, and it's a very valid point, Mr. Kejriwal. I would also like to point out on one aspect. Many times, India's startup ecosystem or these unicorns are criticized, saying that they are copies, merely copies of some of the apps or business models already made, like Paytm from PayPal, Ola from Uber, maybe Zomato from some food delivery. So, on that note, I would like to ask you how many of them are real innovative models? Many of them are copies. Flipkart was a copy of Amazon, isn't it? What do you have to say on this?
It's the same thing that happened in China 20 years ago. They all copied. In fact, there's a Chinese term which says perfect copy. So I think again, right, let's look at it this way, Sumit. If there is a model that is working, that model will economically thrive in any country, right? And I think there's a big disconnect. An entrepreneur's dream is to create a company from scratch, be able to scale it, be able to build it with revenue and with profitability, maybe list and make it thrive. So let's take, for example, a matrimony service that was started in India 20 years ago. It is so brilliant. It is an innovation that no one had, and it is being copied worldwide. So again, if we keep on comparing things, it's very, very hard because the whole context is lost, right? I don't think anyone gained anything by comparing and feeling good or bad. I think what we need to do is there's a large amount of gaps in the country which need entrepreneurship. While we can, again, whatever, not deride, but laugh at food. Look at tourism. I'll just share one data point of it. More people visit the Louvre Museum in Paris than those who visit India as tourists. Now, imagine if there are entrepreneurs who can turn their sites into making tourism a friendlier, easier system. Why should it be export worthy? Why so? So what if it's a copycat from somewhere? If I can make my country attract more tourists than just an Eiffel Tower or a Louvre, I should be very happy. So I don't agree with this philosophy of so what if it's if it's a copy or not. If it's good for Indian, if it's good to make money, it's good for any country, anybody.
And one more point on which startups are often criticized, they are not contributing much to the manufacturing sector of India. Well, India's when FAME 2 happened, some of these two-wheeler makers, electric two-wheeler makers were found importing Chinese kits, labeling them as their own and taking subsidy in return as well. That was one point. Also, manufacturing. Yes, there are jobs that are coming through Ola, food delivery, but not manufacturing. Not enough is happening in manufacturing sector. What do you have to say on this particular point?
It's a funny thing. I worked in a socks factory and manufactured socks for 8 years before I went on to the digital side. I'd love to create a spreadsheet or a comparison of how easy and hard is it to start manufacturing in a China, in a US, in a UK, and India. I mean, the kind of, throttlenecks that we have to face when we do manufacturing in India is so painful that it's better to kind of stay away and do something more digital and based on cloud and internet than do something intensive where you have to meet 23 different inspectors every day and you can fill in the blanks. It's not tit for tat. It is not A is equal to apple and B is equal to ball. It is the reality of the land. And let's look at it, Subit. All the greatest 10, 20, 30 greatest startups that have created trillions of dollars, right? I mean, they are soft services, they are cloud. You've got a Meta which does nothing but social networking. I mean, we should then be laughing at them, right? What does Meta do? What does social Facebook do? All it does is connect friends and makes them have fun. So I think they're trillion-dollar companies. I think we would rather have trillion-dollar companies that do anything than have no trillion-dollar company at all. So I think the context has been lost. We should look at what our youth and what our entrepreneurs are inspired and aspired by and do that.
Well, thank you very much on that note, Mr. Kejriwal. You brought out few important points that India has to be seen from a perspective where everything is positive, every moment is a positive moment. And that's what the point is here. Definitely, we'll possibly ask that to Mr. Goyal whenever I get a chance to speak to him. I'll bring forward the points which have been made by India's startup ecosystem. Thank you very much for joining us once again.
Thank you, Sumit. Thank you.
Well, let's talk.